Hello, my fellow chatterers and book lovers, and anyone else who's popped in because you're curious about what this is or you have got a bit lost. Welcome, everyone. I'm Chatty, and welcome to my channel, Chatty the Mad Chatter, where I'm going to be chatting away madly about what I have been reading within the first few weeks of October. So I'm going to just dive right into the books. So wish me luck. It could be chaos. I don't edit my long videos. It's one long continuous shot. So cheers, everyone. Clink, clink, clink. So the first book I'm going to talk about is a book that I got from the library, and it is an audiobook. And it's one that I've been meaning to reread for a really long time. And I saw it as an audiobook, and I just finished my previous audiobook. And I was like, why not? I couldn't actually stop listening to it. It was that good. And it is Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor. And I knew I really enjoyed it when I read it. I read it when I was at uni. That would have been 2004, 2004-5. So I read it then and I enjoyed it. And then I recently discovered that there is a whole Logan family saga of novels and novellas that she has written. And I was like, oh, I want to see where else the story goes, because it felt like it did when I got to the end of it. I did feel like, well, I want to know what happens next. So I was like, well, let's start off with Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. It's not the chronological one, but it's I think one of the second ones she published, but it's the one she's most well known for. And it was just incredible. And I've totally forgotten who was the narrator. I will talk about it when I do my full-on wrap-up, and I'll also put it in the description. But the narrator was fantastic as well. We got these amazing southern accents. I love hearing I loved hearing all of that. It was wonderful, and just all the voices were so clear. I was fully sucked into the story, and it was just amazing just to see Cassie's reaction to so much of the social injustice, the racism, the institutionalized racism, the fear. Reading it as an adult, you obviously are aware of the context it's all in, and you are aware of the adult perspective as well, whereas Cassie is just coming from it from an absolute straight wrong and right, clear childhood, amazing place. This is why children are so wonderful, because they don't have any of the adult social context. But you can understand this difficult balance that the adults have in wanting to raise their children with the acknowledgement that you are as good as everyone else. The world is unjust. We shouldn't be put down. We shouldn't stay in our place or our lane, as they would say now. But at the same time, protecting them, because it's set in the 1930s. It was written in the 1970s, set in the 1930s. And it was still, racism is still rife today, but there was a lot less. There was even more, I suppose, leeway for white people to murder black people and to maim them and assault them and damage them. And so obviously this family are trying to keep everything in check, but they do fight back against things, and they continue to fight back, and they continue to hold their own. And it's amazing just to see all of that. But one thing that really, really stood out to me is just the family values. So not even in a race context or even in a social justice context, just in a general life advice for everyone. The values that the adults give the children, the life lessons they encourage them to learn, is amazing. Obviously, written in the 1930s, the methods of behaviour management for children that were acceptable at the time are now no longer acceptable. So there is physical abuse on the children. You have to take that in context of itself. So obviously, if it was set in modern day, that would be appalling, and that would be absolutely out the window. But understanding where it came from at the time, and to those parents, that was the best way of bringing up the children, to make sure that they understood you have to follow our rules. The rules are here to keep you safe. But the Logan family is amazing. You just want to just go and hang out with them and join them. And you also really appreciate their work ethic. And it really, it made me get on with my chores. I very felt like, oh my goodness, I am not pulling my weight around here. I need to go and plant these bulbs I said I was going to plant ages ago and never did. And I will now hoover the house because I've been meaning to do it ages and never have. So it's very good for me. Thank you, Big Ma and, you know, Mrs. Logan for encouraging me, and Papa Logan as well. It was just wonderful, and I can't wait to read more. I have been looking to try and get a box set of the Logan saga, and I can't. It's not really. It's available in America, not really available in the UK, which really sucks. You can get like the novels, but not necessarily the novellas. Though some of them are out of print now, which is such a shame. But I'm gonna see what I can do. I really want to get my hands. I can keep looking and try and buy the individual books, but I really want a set of them. Also, Mildred's writing is amazing. It's absolutely, it's just so, again, it's like you've just got such a strong character voice. It's so immersive. It pulls you in, the historical detail, it's all there. And what was really wonderful, and what I wasn't expecting, was at the end, you get an afterword. So you got a foreword by Jacqueline Woodson, and it was wonderful to hear how Mildred D. Taylor's like stories and writing had such an impact on her and her writing. And then you hear at the end, you hear Mildred D. Taylor's like afterward about her family and where these stories came from, and her need to tell them, and it was incredible. So all of these stories are very like personal to her, and I think that just makes them, it just gives them that extra specialness, and just they're just amazing stories. It's just of this community, of this family, of the people around them, you know, fighting for just the right to live their life the best way they can and have their place in the world, as they absolutely should. And it was wonderful. I had such an amazing time with it. So if you have not read Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, I don't care what age range you read. If you like historical fiction, if you like books about social justice, if you like a wonderful family, if you like all of those things, read Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. So the next books I'm going to talk to you about are two more middle grade books. One of the reasons I'm in a rush to try and get this video out is because I need to take this one back to the library because two people have reserved it. This is The Skull by Jon Klassen. And I am reading this for, it's going to come to me, HALLOWTWEEN, which is Readathon by Stormi from Storm Reads. I can't remember what prompt I was using it for, but I'll do all of that in like the full-on wrap-up. But this is such an adorable book. It's very small. So look, this is the picture to writing, what's the word? Ratio. That's the word I needed. So I've read picture books by Jon Klassen. He's got a very like simplistic art style, but it's very kind of, but at the same time, it's really like detailed, like it's very distinct. So he uses a very kind of slim colour palette, but like the shapes and things he uses and the way he uses those colours, it really makes things like stand out. And I just love the girl with the skull, just having a look through the room. And this was just an adorable story. It was a story of bravery. There's a spooky element in here. I don't want to spoil it because it's really small, but I loved this. This was brilliant. So I understand why people are reserving it, and I want them to go have a good time, and maybe I will own a copy at some point. We will see. Jon Klassen also did the illustrations in, Jon Klassen also did the illustrations in that as well. The next one I'm going to talk to you about is The Witch's Brat by Rosemary Sutcliffe. This I have borrowed from my mum because I really wanted to reread it. I borrowed it a few months ago and I'm finally picking it up. Again, it just felt kind of this seasonal vibe. So it feels very autumnal. It is set in medieval England. I think, I can't remember if it gave a date. It's in the reign of Henry I of England. So like really like early on. So it would be like 1000 to 100 kind of years. 1066 was William the Conqueror. Henry I was the third king. I think he was his son. I don't know. I clearly need to know my history more. Anyway, around that era, so we have a village where we meet our protagonist, who is Lovell. Lovell has like, I can't remember I don't know what the modern term would be, but his shoulder is sort of like, and back is sort of like hunched. and he's got sort of like a leg that he limps on. So he has physical disability, and because of that, because he's different, and because he lived with his grandma who was different, who was a herbalist and dealt with medicine, they called her a witch, and then they call him a witch's brat, and they don't want him in the village anymore because they think he's going to do things that witches do, like poison the well. The grandma was tolerated because they liked her herbs. He's not tolerated because she's not there to protect him, and he's different, so they run him out the village, which is incredibly mean. This little book packs in a lot of heart just within the small pages. So it is just a little story about what Lovell does, where he goes, how he finds his place in the world, how he finds his own skill set. There were certain things I remembered and certain things I had completely forgotten. So I knew it involved like a cloister and a building at some point. I'd got the building wrong, but I knew there was a sense of craftsmanship in here, and I knew that Lovell found a skill, and I knew that Lovell found a place. And I knew there was a character called Rahir, but I couldn't remember much more than that. And it was brilliant. It was very much about not judging people, about believing in yourself, finding your place. And I was unsure going into this what the disability representation would be like, because it was written in, was it the 80s? Was it the... No, 1970. But I thought the disability representation was fantastic in here. It was very much, it was a small part of Lovell. It didn't define him. And Lovell's character was allowed to shine. His abilities were allowed to shine. And he was just wonderful. I really, really loved this book. And I'm so pleased I read it. And I really encourage you, if you can get a copy of this, it is a very small read. If you enjoy a historical fiction, if you like a character book, if you like a book about just finding your place in the world, if you like a book that's heartwarming, absolutely pick up The Witch's Brat. Final book that I have read over the first 2 weeks that I've finished is Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. And I'm now going to need to get some liquid. Much better. Okay, so Bloodmarked by Tracy Deonn. This is the second book in the Legendborn cycle, which is a YA fantasy. I started this in September. I read through the first 200 pages, but before I did that, I did have to go back and read a few bits of Legendborn again, just to remind myself of the magic systems, of certain characters, and just refresh myself, because it's been 2 years. So I'm really pleased I did that, so I had a good handle on what was happening and on the situation once we get into Bloodmarked. So this was a bit of a mixed bag. I think I had quite high hopes for Bloodmarked, and I think it didn't quite hit the points I wanted it to hit for me. So what I loved about Legendborn, it feels very different. It's Legendborn, you're in one place, and it's kind of like one set, and you're kind of very much in this like boiling pot of this kind of elite white racist what's the word, like society club, and then you've got people like Bree and a couple of other outsiders like working their way into this. Bree's in there for different reasons. You also find about her family. She's also going through a lot of grief. You get a great relationship with her friend and with her dad, and then you've got kind of these new relationships forming, and she's not entirely sure of her place. And then she also finds out about some other magic, part of her heritage, and kind of how these two different magics are kind of in conflict with each other. All at the same time, she's trying to kind of break more into the kind of Legendborn world and this kind of like secret elite society, and they don't want her to, apart from a few people. So there's trials and there's all that kind of fun. Bloodmarked, you start in one place, but then there's a lot of moving around. There's a lot of being in lots of different places, so there's less kind of sitting and dwelling on things, and there's a lot more fast-paced action. So what I loved how the grief was handled. I loved how you had these two different branches of magic. I loved how we were exploring the past and kind of her heritage. And I also enjoyed how she was kind of battling the institutionalized racism. So we get some of that in here, but it's not as in-depth as it felt in Legendborn. It felt a lot more woven in to Legendborn, where it felt a little bit more kind of smack you in the face in Bloodmarked, if that made sense. Oh man. Sorry everyone. Yes, okay. I know my mom's going to go on at me about getting this thing to make my camera stay up, but I haven't done it yet. So, right. This thing's happened. Okay, where was I? Bloodmarked. So I really loved the first, like, I'd say like the first third maybe of the book, because you were starting to see kind of the politics of the society. So a big thing has happened. There have been 2 big events that have happened. Little thing that grated on me is certain ways that teenagers sometimes act, the headstrong thing against the logic. And I felt like kind of Brie didn't have enough reason to be acting the way she had. I felt we hadn't seen enough of her feeling kind of penned in for her to act the way that felt normal, because you just felt like, why did you do this? But all of that was fun. You know, you got a little bit of tension, you got all of that kind of stuff, and I was like, okay, fine, we'll be what it will be. We'll give it that thing. But I also felt really annoyed with Sal quite a lot throughout this book. I just felt like he was quite hypocritical. He didn't know what he wanted. He was playing games, and I'm like, Sal, just sort yourself out. I'm just not here for it. I enjoyed Sal and Brie in Legendborn when they had more of a kind of platonic outsiders coming together as outsiders, both being mistrusted for different reasons, and kind of sharing that bond and working together. But here we've got sexual tension, and it just wasn't as fun. I was like, I don't care. I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, fine. And then you've got random like throwbacks to, oh, but what about Nick? And it's like, are we doing this or not? What's going on? And it just felt a little bit like I could have done without the teenage drama. But I know a lot of people love the teenage drama, and it's a YA, so it is what it is. But amongst that, Sal was just like, Brie, you're so important. We have to protect you. You have to be safe. And then randomly we'll just run off with her to go and do something. I'm like, which one is it? Which one do you want to do? There's no consistency here. And there'd be times he'd be a grumpy ass, and other times he'd be like, I'm going to play mind games with you and make you think about what I'm saying. Ha. And it's like, why won't you answer me? And it's just like, shut up, Sal, get over yourself. He just really annoyed me. I'm sorry. And Brie annoyed me that she was just, she either has full-on agency or she's, what should I be doing? I'm feeling confused. And there just didn't seem to be, there seemed to be a lot of excuse for people to be carrying her. And there seemed to just be a lot of her being aware of her body. And it goes back again to all of the sexual tension. And I'm just like, I just want to know more about the magic. So I think maybe this kind of wasn't quite for me in that respect either. But what I did enjoy was in the first bit, I enjoyed kind of like the political situation. So we are in a situation where we have, so like I've said before, like the racist, elitist, white supremacist, classist, blood idolizing people of the Legendborn secret society that have got themselves into these positions of power. Their true colours really shine through in this. Like, they've had a certain amount of, here are the rules that you need to follow, but it was very much like they're pulling strings for their own personal gain. Kind of was what we felt as we towards the end of Legendborn, and we really start to see more of that here, and we start to see all of the Machiavellian stuff. And there were some really nice moments that kind of hit to kind of almost like institutionalized abuse, and I feel it does reflect certain periods of history in terms of like experimentation that the Black communities had at certain points in history. So it was absolutely horrible to read, but I appreciated the parallels. I appreciated how it worked within this world that has been set up. But then the story changes to more of a fast-paced moving from place to place, and kind of the characters not really having a goal. Like, they're quite conflicted as to, I think I'm going into spoilers a bit here. So I'm going to go into spoilers a bit more now because I need to explain my thoughts properly. Into either do we go and follow Nick and find him and help him? Or is it more important that we try and keep Bree safe? Bree doesn't have a handle on her Legendborn powers. She has better handle on her root powers, but not on her Legendborn. I really would have liked to have just stayed in one place and had her explore her magic a bit more, deal with her emotions, deal with what's going on. I'd love to have kind of checked in more with our secondary characters. So we have Alice and Will. Love William. William is an absolute sweetheart. And he had moments of feeling more like main character and then kind of falling back into the side character, kind of as and when the book drifted. I would like him to have been pulled more into a main character and have kind of seen more from Will's view of how Will was struggling and what Will was going through as well. We also have what Alice is going through, and I enjoyed that, but there was moments where it was very much like, I don't know, it was either like girl time or protect Bree time, and it wasn't so much like what's everyone else's character and how are we all kind of coming together and how are we all going to deal with it. Like, I needed more of an equal kind of found family in a tricky situation and them all surviving rather than protect Bree or but we must find Nick. And it just felt really hazy, and obviously there's just monsters everywhere at different points and like, oh my goodness, we're in danger again. And it just felt lost. It didn't quite feel like we had a goal, and I couldn't quite get behind them because they didn't seem to know what they were doing. And that's okay to not know what you're doing, but then you need to be chatting to yourselves, we don't know what we're doing, rather than Cell trying to make Bree feel shit about life. And it's just like, just stop it. We don't have time for your drama, okay? Get over it. And I wanted us to kind of explore more about Bree's mum's relationship with Cell's mum and kind of get more about that. We did get some more callbacks from the ancestors, but I felt we could have explored that a bit more fully. Like in the Legendborn, Bree was fully in their dreams and was fully exploring some of the characters and things with them. We got little snapshots, but I wanted to be in there more. I wanted to know these women more personally and see more of where they came from and what happened. There is obviously a thread kind of going throughout that, which links to the title. And that kind of comes to play. That's kind of the other aspect that kind of comes into the story and comes into play, as well as the what's happening with Legendborn, what's happening with like the end of the world, and also kind of Arthur popping up and down every now and then. So I enjoyed kind of where the story started to go towards the end. It felt like it had a goal, it had a place, but I would have liked to have explored more of the Rootcraft and the Rootcraft community, and I'd have liked to have seen more conflict between the Legendborn and the Rootcrafters. I would have liked to have seen evidence that the Legendborn hunt the Rootcrafters and don't trust them and try and eradicate them. There was another character in here that was kind of a greyish character, but I really enjoyed him, and I've totally forgotten his name now. No, I can't find his name. But he owns a bar. It's him, if you've read it. So I enjoyed his character a lot, and the kind of aspect that brought it. And we have a lot more of an exploration of demons in this as well. So that was fun. But again, like the aspect of demon exploration kind of fed into a bit more of teen drama again that I kind of wasn't here for, because I think it just bothers me. It just, yeah. Other people can love it, but that's fine. But I just felt I didn't care enough that Cell hid his turning into a demon from Bree and not everyone else. And just like Bree's attitude towards it and Cell's attitude towards it, I was just like, look guys, okay, we get it, you're attracted to each other, can you just talk about it and move on please, because I'm getting bored. And you need reasons to be mad at each other and not be happy with each other, and I just wasn't up for that. And at that point I'm like, look, if we're just not gonna have Nick in here, then can we just get rid of him completely, because I don't know what you're wanting me to do with this. But actually it did go a different way. It wasn't a corner, it does feel more like it's a triangle, and I want to see more of Nick and Cell's relationship and the conflict between Nick and Cell, and I would love to eventually get a triangle between the three of them. That would be nice, please. I am here for 3 polyamory when you kind of throw them together in this situation. But and I did enjoy the Arthur stuff, but again I felt like we kind of had a bit of it and then we had a big break from it, then we had a bit of it, so it just felt a little tangled in the middle. And I would have liked to have kind of, I just feel that maybe this would have benefited a lot more from someone kind of like editing it and kind of pulling it and pushing it all back together again. I just feel that would have, it could have been at the Legendborn level if that could have all been pulled out a bit more. It just felt a bit lost. Like I liked the ideas. I liked the idea of this Rootcraft community having claimed this land that was previously slave land and having all of that. But I'd have liked to have spent time with them. I'd have liked to have got to know the people in that community more. We just got one person, and then we have teen drama and events happening. And we got like a teaser of Patricia and a little bit of Mariah, but we didn't actually get to have Brie hanging out with them properly and talking about her route and talking about how she felt and any of that, and like how angry she was about the Legendborn and how they treated her. And we didn't get, I needed closure. I needed closure with the emotional stuff that was happening in here. We didn't get a lot of that. Whereas we did in Legendborn. Like, the grief was dealt with so well. Her relationship with her dad was dealt with so well. And I just felt it didn't hit those points in Bloodmarked, which was a shame. But I will be reading on because I'm curious to see where it goes. I might just be getting it from the library though, rather than buying it myself. Anyway, that was that one. Okay, so I'm running out of time. So I'm quickly going to go through what I'm currently reading and what I hope to be reading in the next few weeks. So I'm having 2 buddy reads, which I'm absolutely loving. My reread of Tennent of Wildfell Hall, along with Emily from Novel Novels. I'm having the best time with this. It's amazing to reread this book. It's absolutely perfect for this season, and I absolutely love it. I'm having a really fun time with One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, which I'm reading with Vadania and Cloe. And it's really fun. I'm enjoying the magic system. Keen to see where it's going. Certain quibbles at certain points, but I'm just going to go along for the ride. I then have started these 2. Oh no. Oh, terrible. Well, I started The Conductors by Nicole Glover, and I am loving this so far. I'm really enjoying the character Hetty. I'm intrigued by all the stuff that's happening. It is set around the mid-1800s. There's a story like just before slavery is abolished, and there's a story just after slavery is abolished. And I'm really keen to see how we have this fantasy historical mystery blend. Literally just started Assassin's Fate because I've been putting it off. And then Bridget was like, Charlotte, where are you? Read. And I was like, okay, yes, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll pick it up and start reading now. And I needed a push because I think I was just denying myself. And as soon as I picked up and started reading, I was like, I'm here. So I think basically I'm probably just going to focus quite a lot on this one and on my buddy reads. And then I'll be going back to The Conductors and probably slip in some other books before I get to that one to make sure I don't have Hob hangover and it doesn't suffer from that. And I'm also reading The Secret of Haven Point, which I'm also really loving, but I'm gonna just pause this briefly so I can fully appreciate it in its own time and space, because I think I now am in the mood for more of the adult books. So I'm just gonna pop it down because I think I'm definitely gonna need some middle grade after them. I am today going to be starting Coraline by Neil Gaiman and reading this with Talia from Bandana Book Mum and Stacy and Mona Lisa Reid. So I'm really excited about starting this one. And I'm hoping soon to pick up either Root Magic by Eden Royce or Fable House for E.L. Norrie. And I really hope that at some point I'm going to be able to get on some of the live sprints with all the readathons I'm doing. So fingers crossed. I have yet to manage it. I briefly popped into Olivia's GOTHTOBER and said hello, but then did not manage to organise bedtime enough to be able to then get back on and read with them later on. So that was a shame, but never mind. And I have briefly popped in to retrospect some of Ladette M's GOTHTOBERs, and hopefully I will continue with that. And I would also like to then, I'm going to have to do it in retrospect because I know what's going to happen, but with BLACKOWEENATHON and HALLOWTWEEN as well. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you're reading. Get chatty in the comments. You know I love a chat. Happy reading, everyone.